So the words by Ashley Jade or A Jade, depending on what your cover says. I was not expecting this book to be so long. It is very long, and it's because it goes from high school when they meet to several years later after shenaniganry happens. Yep, they break up in a way that you really can only do when you're in high school, full of drama and angst. And it's there's a lot of sex and a lot of smut in this. They really like once they get over the hating each other part after the jump, they really go at it. But I want to pause for a moment when Lennon sees Phoenix's penis for the first time. She says, I mean, huge, his penis, in its legitimately alarming and science should probably study him kind of way. Yeah, I looked at the direct quote, and I don't love that because that's too big. And it's never mentioned after that. Like, I guess I don't know if her high school stuff was like, that's a huge penis. And there isn't a moment when she sees him again where she was like, oh, that's right. His penis is enormous. What I do love is one of the bandmates. Yeah, one of the bandmates, my favorite part, has a bondage kink. And when she's trying to be a sober companion and keep Phoenix from like going and doing drugs, he lets her borrow his under the bed restraints. And like that to me, I wanna read Storm's book. Oh my gosh, y'all. Raiders of the Lost Heart. Oh, I love this book. I'm gonna put it up here so you can keep seeing the beautiful, beautiful cover. But this book was so great. It is an enemies to lovers. It's not really a slow burn. They really do lean into that tension very quickly, and I'm not mad about it. But they've got a lot of other tropes in there. There is a workplace situation, there's forced proximity. Oh no, they have one tent and a rainstorm to sleep in. It's great. One of the things that I liked best about this is Corey. She is so empowered and owns her sexuality and really is just allows herself to go after what she wants in the bedroom. And because they're in the middle of the desert, they're on an archaeological dig in the forest of Mexico. There are no condoms for like a week until they get some in a supply delivery. So there's a lot of not penetration stuff that happens. And I appreciate that because so often sex is only considered worth it if it's like penis in vagina. And y'all, that's not the case. You can get a lot of satisfaction and a lot of intimacy from some of those lower levels, as you might call it. So, oh, loved it so much. Go read it, Raiders of the Lost Heart. Y'all, for how much people were going insane about Icebreaker, I definitely expected it to be a little bit kinkier than it was. No, don't get me wrong. There is so much sex. There's so much smut in this book. But in general, it's like pretty vanilla. And I am so glad that it exists because I think sometimes more vanilla gets kind of pushed into sweet and romantic and not sexy. And this is sexy. This is two people really connecting on that sexual level and taking a lot of enjoyment from that exploration. There's a lot, they fuck against a lot of doors. That's their thing. They really like doors in this, but it made me really appreciate the more vanilla type of sex that exists. And that books like that can be very sexy and very smutty, even without some of those more out there things. And you know what? Vanilla people deserve really smutty books too. So yeah, go read Icebreaker and get your vanilla sex smut on. Lust by Nikki Rome. This was an author recommended to me by Princess Rara in our conversation. If you haven't listened to that podcast episode, please go do so. And I was really curious to see what this author is doing, especially with how influential she is in the Smut Lovers conference and how passionately she takes writing smut and kinky smut. So Lust is the first of a trilogy that she's got, and in terms of the sex, it's fine. Here's my biggest complaint with that book is I wanted more of an emotional journey for these characters. We're just kind of plopped into this situation and everybody's obsessed with everybody else, even though nobody really knows each other. And so there isn't this real journey of emotional connection that the characters go on. And it makes, for me, the sex, which is sexy, it's written well, but I didn't care as much because I kind of felt like I didn't believe I didn't believe them. I didn't believe that they wanted each other. There are two more books in that trilogy, so I'm going to read the next two and see if that emotional journey is really across the books versus in each one individually. Everything in my life stopped last week when Midnight Ruin came out. I immediately went and got my copy. Yes, I pre-ordered it and dove right in. And y'all, this, oh man, this was so good. Everything that I was really frustrated by in Cruel Seduction, I felt like that book didn't delve into the relationships that they were building. It didn't talk about how they were working as a kind of polycule, closed situation. Really worked well in Midnight Ruin. I loved the play, and I think that Katee Robert did a good job of acknowledging that some of the discussions weren't enough, for real life. Like, she even says in one of these moments that, like, this is a discussion that should be happening with before my cock is in her hand, but yeah, okay, it didn't. And I loved how the kink really enhanced their relationship and their own sense of self. I I had so many beautiful surprises and like lovely moments of turn on in this book. The trio of Eurydice, Orpheus, and Chiron, perfection. And we got some of that plot that I really felt was missing in Cruel Seduction. There was so much good plot in the first four books of the Dark Olympus series, and I missed that. Important things happen in Cruel Seduction, but Midnight Ruin really takes the cake for me. Oh, Lord, y'all. Little Slice of Hell. This is where advertising really got me. I was scrolling through a social media account and they had posted a snippet from this book and I saw it and I clicked. I know, I clicked. But the snippet was so good that I immediately went and bought this. Here's my biggest complaint with A Little Slice of Hell is that it truly is a little slice. It is so short, so short. And for me, it was like a blink and you missed it kind of read. That doesn't mean that it wasn't good. That doesn't mean that it wasn't sexy. I loved the kink, loved the amount of kink, loved their like kind of instant connection, fall for each other conversation. I thought the world was really interesting. I love that there's this monster cafe and someone basically sets monsters up with humans. And there are a couple others in this series that I do want to read, but it went by so fast that by the end of it, I was like, I felt like I wasn't invested in their relationship enough. Other real complaint is that Dante has a 13-inch ridged vibrating dick. That's too much. That's too much. Chaos Reigning! I did it! I finished the trilogy of Polaris Rising, Aurora Blazing, and now Chaos Reigning. And I am really happy that I kept going. I really enjoyed the book of Polaris Rising. Aurora Blazing, not as much, but Chaos Reigning just, I feel like it really ended on a high note. This relationship is with Kat, the youngest sister, and Alex, one of her bodyguards, who we've met in Aurora Blazing. And the chemistry between them is really spectacular. They get along great. You can see the relationship building. You can see them, that tug of both of them toward the other and also trying to keep themselves away. I really appreciated that. Also, they empower each other to get better. Alex allows Kat to really be her authentic self, to shine, to step into her power as you would. And Kat gives Alex someone that he can lean on, that he can really build a life with. And I love them together. Also, the sex has just gotten better written as these books have gone on, and I think that really is a positive for the author. And I loved that for Kat and Alex, they kept getting interrupted. Like they kept wanting to bone and then weren't able to. And so when it finally happened, mwah, yes, that was a good release for everyone involved. House of Salt and Sorrow. This is another book without explicit sex, so I'm not going to take a lot of time for it, but I really enjoyed it. Apparently, I'm entering my fantasy era. Those are things that are getting recommended to me. Those are things I'm finding really enjoyable. And this was a great world that was created. Um, I will say that there is a lot of tragedy in this. So if you are someone who is triggered by mortality, it starts at a funeral and it second to last scene is pretty much at a funeral. So that might be a little bit triggering. But also, there were some, like, legitimate shocking moments in this book, like, I had a jump scare and I dropped the book and I, like, had a gasping moment, so if that's something you enjoy, you really like being surprised, twists, turns, absolutely go read this book. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know there are more books in this series, so I'm intrigued to see what happens next.